Hi, today guys we talk about gender. And when we talk about gender, we talk about mostly the idea of masculine and feminine. But to be sure that is not that simple. Remember what I say? Sometimes things are simple and other times they are more complex. The idea is to try to simplify or sometimes to make it complex so that of course you can understand it better. Get your paper, get your pen, pencil, and let's get started. Okay? So you see there that we have the word gender. In fact, I need to tell you about another word, genre. We are going to talk about both in some minutes. But when we talk about the gender itself, let me just put it like this. We usually talk about the gender of nouns. Okay? Remember that English is different from some other languages such as Portuguese, Italian, French, and so on. Because in languages like this, we have marked the idea of masculine and of feminine. Okay? And sometimes you just add one letter here, another letter there, and then you know that it's masculine and you know it's feminine. That's not so easy in English. And that's what we're going to try to show you. So as I said, traditionally when we talk about this, we talk about the masculine, we talk about the feminine, and we talk about the neuter. Okay, neuter means it's not masculine, it's not exactly feminine, and it's usually related to objects. Although we have a kind of idea that it is more masculine or more feminine, we normally say neuter. There is another one which is important that is related to the common ones. I'm not going to give you a long list of examples, but they are going to be important ones for you to at least realize what they are about. Okay? And then we talk about genre. So when we talk about the gender of nouns, remember that in English, the adjectives do not change. I mean, do not change when you do not use the comparison or even the superlative idea. We are talking about the idea of masculine or feminine because it doesn't change. Sometimes you need to have specific adjectives for a masculine idea or even a feminine idea, but then we have the exceptions. So sometimes people, especially when they are studying English as a foreign language, we say that we have the irregular cases. Let's put like irregular or irregular cases. Okay? So traditionally, when we talk about this idea of masculine, let's use examples or simple examples like what? Let me get something here that I think it's nice. Here, for instance, I have a bilingual edition of the story of Romeo and Juliet. Okay, so then we have here a bilingual edition. So here we have then that idea of man and woman. Okay, remember that at the same time you can say girl or using masculine first, so you have the boy and then we have the girl. Okay. So when we have things like this, so we are going to keep here, let's say, the masculine. Okay, so man, boy, and let's use here like a husband, by the way. So then we have the feminine form for each one of them. So then for a man, we have the woman. For the boy, we have the girl. For the husband, we have the wife. Okay, so in situations like these, this is the traditional way of thinking and learning, understanding the language and understanding culture. But these days, when we talk about all kinds of, let's say, sexual orientations, right, the rights of people, etc., it's not that common anymore. But we are not going to be that, right? Okay, we are not going to focus on that. We are going to avoid any kind of controversial issue. But anyways, we go to the neuter. The neuter then is going to be related to objects in general, like let's say book. I have some books here to show you. Maybe as we have book, we have paper or newspaper. In this case, let's use newspaper. Let's see. Let's put here a place, or can be like sitting. And let me see another one, like I don't know, make a bottle. So if you are a speaker of other languages besides English, you understand that the word book, let's say in Portuguese, has a masculine connotation. But remember that we don't say like the book has a feminine counterpart. No, book exists only as book. Book. The same way happens to the newspaper, because the newspaper is going to have this masculine idea. So we don't understand that as having a feminine counterpart. The other way around, right? On the other way around, we have the word city. We do not say that the city has a masculine counterpart. Okay, like the same way as you say man, woman, so you say city. You don't say anything else. The same thing happens to bottle. Bottle exists with this idea of feminine. We do not understand that as having a masculine counterpart. So this is something that sometimes has to be understood, because in situations in which we have two different languages and one is going to influence the other, people may get a little bit mixed up. And if that happens, remember, in English there is something a little bit more different, and then you need to remember that. Well, let me see now. The common ones are going to be those ones used both for masculine, feminine at the same time. Well, some that I remember, of course, is about me, the teacher. The teacher can be a man, the teacher can be a woman. Okay, so then in situations like these, you may say the teacher, he and she. When you use the pronoun he or she, well, then you give the idea that it's a man, that it's a woman. The same thing happens to the word doctor. You don't know if the doctor is a man, if the doctor is a woman. Another word that I remember, of course, is the word baby. Sometimes you say, is it a boy? Is it a girl? So in situations like this, the word it, which is neuter by itself, is going to give the help that you need. So then you say, is it a boy? Is it a girl? Because you're not supposed to say, is he a boy? If you say, is he a boy, come on, you are kind of repeating this masculine idea. The same thing happens if you say, is she a girl? So in English, it's not so wise to say, is he or she a boy, a girl? So in situations like this, you say, is it? And then a boy or a girl. Okay, another one that is for both is neighbor. Neighbor can be a man, a woman, okay? A couple, right? A man and a woman at the same time. I mean, a couple because they are married, okay? So they are neighbors. So words like these can be used for both men. Let me put it up here because, yes, now it's okay. So words like these, like teacher, doctor, baby, and neighbor, remember that they can be used for both men and women, or, as I said, for the masculine and the feminine idea. Well, related to the irregular cases, well, I would mention here the foreign words. Okay, the foreign words. And one word that I remember very often is the word fiancé, because fiancé is a French word. So you need to use the same pattern, because if it in France or in French, it's going to be used like this. Well, in English, it's going to be the same. So then you say fiancé. So then you have the word here, okay? So then you have the word here with the E at the end, because in French, the E indicates the idea of feminine. Remember that in Portuguese, the idea of feminine is given by A, right, letter A, and the masculine is given by letter O. Okay, I'm saying the regular, right? Say the main rule that we have in the Portuguese language. And the problem in English is that we don't have this idea, this possibility of ending the words with a or o very often. If you pay attention to most English words, they are going to end in consonants. They do not end in vowels, for example. So my suggestion is that you make up lists and lists of words which are nouns, because that's what you need to focus on. And then you take a look at the way they end and their counterpart. Usually we use first the masculine and then the feminine. Well, but it's not something that you have to follow all the time. You can invert, and then you put the feminine first and then you put the masculine. As we are polite people, you can say, well, ladies first and then the gentlemen after that. Like saying ladies and gentlemen, by the way. Remember that this idea that we are focusing today is related to the word gender. Well, when we talk about the other word, genre, we are talking about the types, the kinds of something. And it's more related to cultural things. I'm going to use the dictionary in a while, and then you are going to realize exactly what I mean by using this. Today I'm going to use a different dictionary, okay? As you say, hey Jerry, show another dictionary, right? So this is interesting when you interact, when you give some kind of suggestions, because your suggestions are going to be considered, be sure, okay? But as I said, remember that the idea of gender is more complex than you maybe think it is. See, first, they do not give any kind of definition first. The first thing that comes is this kind of explanation. So as I said, in other languages, right, such as French, Spanish, Italian, they didn't say Portuguese, but Portuguese too, a large number of nouns are coded as being either feminine or masculine. And in this case, in English, we are not going to use all these because they are not inflected for gender. Okay, then you have the suffixes and the idea of masculine, and you use that as feminine, we are going to change. So grammar is important, but let me see if we have here, yes, we have the pronunciation. So let's listen because I think it's important. United States, so American English.
Gender.
Now British English.
Gender.
Yeah, you see that there is a slight difference, but there is. So see now that you have grammar, a grammatical category often designated as male, female, or neuter, and it goes on. So remember that this is important because besides gender, we have number, we have case, we have other, let's say, possibilities when it comes to the nouns. Well, let's see what else I can tell you here. This is interesting. Genderless, because some people maintain that the word sex should be reserved for reference to the biological aspects, etc. This is that kind of controversial issue that I said, okay? The sex bias, you see, or gender bias. People are not trying to focus on it anymore, but we have the traditional way of understanding not only language but culture in a sense, in a broader sense, okay? This is important to say because people believe that a language exists by itself. It doesn't. It exists in a society, so it depends on the society to have it and to understand it. Here we have very summarized, okay? So in grammar, the gender is any of the categories such as masculine, feminine, neuter, or common within such a set. And then I gave you some examples there. And it goes on. You see, you have a lot of information that you can use. Even here, see, feminine, masculine, neuter, and it goes on. So inanimated objects. As you use this, remember, sexuality, about sex, it's going to be related to all this. Now let's go back because I'm going to show you then the other word and the word that sometimes people use incorrectly, because the word genre, like this,
genre,
or
genre,
you see, when we talk about genre, we talk about a category of artistic composition, as in music or literature, marked by distinctive style, form, or content. And then we have, when you have, for example, science movies or science fiction or fiction, non-fiction, this is the kind of genre that we usually talk about: rock, pop, reggae. So when we say the types of, the kinds of music or movies or the like, this is what we are talking about here. So you say about the kind, the category, the sort of literary or artistic work, like fiction or painting, and it goes on. So if you translate the words gender and genre into Portuguese, you're going to have very similar words, not to say the same word. Just to give you an example of something that I have, I like to write poems, right? I like to write articles, so I'm a writer sometimes. So today, wow, man, that's a sexy guy, huh? So I have here some words. So you have words like boxes. Remember that they have to be nouns. So box, boxes. So box is a neuter, okay? A neuter noun. But remember that box has more this feminine idea. Then we have the word night. Night is the same way. We have a feminine idea, but it's neuter. Okay. Day, on the other hand, has a masculine idea, although it's neuter. Again, one was another one for you. And Faye. We have names. So here is a proper noun. So in situations like this, remember that we have names that are only for mostly, I wouldn't say only, but mostly for males, and names that are mostly for females. That's the case. Faye, or she, if you want, has a feminine idea. People or person, remember that people here is plural. So we have person, we have people. One day we are going to talk about this idea of singular and plural. But in this case, remember that person has a feminine idea. Okay, and Gus, just like Faye, is the name of a person. So the idea is that we have Faye as a feminine name and Gus for a male. So in this case, so we have here hus. In case you don't know, hus is a short form for husband or hubby, but we usually say hus for husband. I'm gonna write in some minutes because we have husband and wife. I guess I did that already. Number has this idea of masculine, and I have a list that has this idea of feminine. So the poem is Coffin. If you don't know, coffin is that kind of how can I say, kind of a box, right? This, a wooden box where people are placed when they die. Okay, you die, and before you go to the cemetery, where you're going to be? You are going to be in a coffin, sometimes casket, but in English, American English, you say coffin. So coffin goes like this. I dreamed of 7 wooden boxes a night the other day. One was for me, another one for you and Faye. The other 4 for people around us, including Gus, your hus, number 1 on their list. Thank you very much for your clapping hands. Like, hey, Jerry, that's good. Guys, remember you can read it online. You just go to this site here, atribunamt.com.br, and it's going to be there available. Remember, this is the date. Check the date, and then you can like it, you can share it, you can do it, whatever you want to. And leave comments. I think comments are also important. Last one about the poem. Remember then that nouns are going to be everywhere. So when you consider them to be masculine, feminine, and the like, this is something that you need to do like naturally. And it's going to be something that it's going to be very useful, be sure. Okay, so there you are. So then we talk today about gender or genre. So when we talk about the gender of nouns, remember this. Most of the time we talk about masculine and feminine. And sometimes masculine idea, feminine idea, even if it's neuter. And remember the common ones, okay? The common ones are going to be used both for men, women, let's say male and female idea. I'm going to show you now some book covers just to end this video, because I try to make a kind of a relationship between what we learn theoretically and what we have into practice. Remember that I showed you this. Remember that this is in, yeah, better. Yeah, like this, I think it's fine. We have here Romeo and Juliet, but of course it's in Portuguese. So Romeo and Juliet, so there you are, okay? Remember that it was written by William Shakespeare. And William Shakespeare, as we know, was a male, was a man. But then some people get in trouble when they think about this one here. Man, I'm kind of lost, okay? So then you have, this is To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. My question is, and it's a homework for you, Harper Lee, is it a man or a woman? If you watch the movie about Truman Capote, okay, it's a great movie, man, a great writer. So if you watch the movie Capote, you know if Harper Lee was or is, right, whether a man or a woman. But if you read this, To Kill a Mockingbird, remember that a mockingbird is, of course, a kind of a bird, okay? Another book I have here is this one. Oh God, there you are. So what's the title, man? I need to read first. The Chalk Box Kid. Chalk Box Kid. So then we have here some words like chalk, the boy has in his hand, box, okay, I guess it's beside him, in front of him, and kid. So the word kid is a word that we can consider common, because it can be used for boys and girls. Remember this. When you're not saying boy or girl, so then you say kid. Yeah, let me show you, because this is the chalk here, this is the box of chalk here, and of course this is the kid, just to make it clear. Well, another one that I have here to show you is this. Man, I get lost sometimes. So this is the Odyssey of Homer. If you remember The Simpsons, you remember Homer Simpson. This is a very, very, very famous book in the Portuguese language. So attention to the word Odyssey. Odyssey has this feminine idea, and Homer is a male name, usually a male name, okay? And finally, I'm going to show you a classic, okay? I'm going to show you a classic. This is The Little Prince, okay? My question is, and Jerry, if it were a woman, if it were a girl, if it were a male, a female, you would say The Little Princess, okay? So The Little Prince is a classic. And in situations like these, remember that grammar helps a little. The is an article. Little, in this case, is an adjective. And prince is the noun. Remember that in English, we use the adjective before the noun. And in Portuguese, for example, we invert. So then we have the adjective after the noun. This is very important. Last but not the least important one, remember, as I said before, there are certain adjectives that you need to follow the noun. So the most used way to refer to a woman is to say beautiful woman. And to talk about a man, you say handsome man. It's important to say that because sometimes we worry only about the noun, but sometimes you need to worry about the adjective too. But remember, there are exceptions. Guys, so this was the topic today, the gender of nouns. Remember that you can watch these once again and as many times as you wish to do so. You can share it, you can leave comments, and you can be in touch with me by using the social networks. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.